Hello and welcome to another amazing, fantastic, and beautiful episode of The Framework of Tomorrow. This is episode 19. I cannot believe we're already this far. It has been it's been a crazy ride, but I've enjoyed every moment of it. I am your host, Keegan Goldfarb, and today I'm going to be talking about the history of Coca Cola and how they have formed the world of soda as we know it and how they did that. But before I get into that, as always, I want to talk about my sponsor, not only here on the Framework of Tomorrow, but also in the network I am in, rallynetwork.net. You can go check us out with some amazing podcasts there. But our sponsor is Ashley Luann Kay. If you're pursuing a higher education or want insights on life as a nurse, go check out Ashley Luann Kay at the Minnesota Nurse on Instagram. Not only helps her out, it helps us out as well. So today I'm going to be talking about a little history of Coca Cola and kind of how they became big. I'm kind of walking through their history and how they've kind of not only been a company, but also helped out and been involved in our communities and the world as well. So starting off here, so I want you to close your eyes while you listen to my voice and imagine you're in Atlanta, Georgia, right? In 1886 on May 8th. You're just chilling there. You're in Atlanta, Georgia. You're walking down the street, right? And you look to your right, and you can see through the window, there's this pharmacist, and his name is Dr. John Smith Pemberton. Dr. John Smith Pemberton. And he's working in his lab, and you see this like look of expression on his face, and you're like, whoa, this guy just figured out how to cure cancer. You'd think, but no, he didn't. He actually, when you see him through the window, he had just produced the syrup that would birth the beginning of all fountain drinks. You see him kind of with expression on his face, and he runs to his door was placed, and he runs right across the street to this place called Jacob's Pharmacy. And you're like, what? Why did you go over there? And you're still looking through the window, right? We're still in 1886, and he gives a little bit of this syrup and gives it to I would assume the owner of this pharmacy, Jacobs, and he takes a little drink of it, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is excellent," because that's what he said. He called it excellent, and then he's like, "We gotta put this on sale." So he takes the syrup, the Coke, I guess you would call it. Oh, it's not actually like cocaine, but I'm gonna get into that in a second. And then he placed it on sale for 5 cents as a glass. It has a glass in a glass as a soda fountain drink. I cannot speak today. But yeah, so you see that you're still on the street in 1886, May 8th, in Atlanta, Georgia, and you're like, "Whoa, I got to go try this out." So you walk in there and they're like, "You got to try this. I need 5 cents from you," which is probably, I don't know how much that is in compared to back then. I think if I remember correctly, they would make like $2 a day on average. I don't know if that's completely true. Do not quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was something around there. Like the average person would make that much, or maybe it was like a week they would make that much, but still 5 cents. So you take your 5 cents, which is, I guess, in perspective, kind of a lot, but you gave them their 5 cents and you're like, whoa, this is the best soda drink ever. It will come to change the world and be across the world, yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? So, yes, you were in Atlanta, Georgia, and that happens. And that was the beginning of Coca Cola right there. That was it. And thank you for listening. I'm just kidding. So, a lot of people have questions about this original fountain drink, and I'm sure you've heard this as well. People have said the original recipe for Coca-Cola, for Coke, included cocaine. And I wanted to kind of figure out whether or not that was true or not. So I did a little digging, And I found out it's half true and half not true, because it's not actually like pure cocaine that they're putting into this thing. Like they're like, well, we just take some more cocaine. That's not what was going on. It was technically though, that's right, because there was cocaine. There was cocoa leaves in it, which is the base form of cocaine. So yes, it did have cocaine in it, but it doesn't. Cocoa leaves, I mean, they do kind of have the same effect when you eat them, but it was little. It was so very little that it wouldn't have any like visible and noticeable effect on a human. And interestingly enough, they kept this to a mere trace until the early 30s, not because they were just like, we're going to keep using cocoa leaves, because actually they it kept their trademark on Coca Cola. It was like I don't really understand this, but it was basically a way for other people not to take Coca Cola name, because they're like, oh, we have cocoa leaves. Like if you don't have cocoa leaves in your drink, I don't know. It was kind of a weird argument. I don't really understand why, but basically they kept it until the early 30s. And it was like, it was such a small amount. Like it was literally like a grain of cocoa leaf, basically. It was nothing, but you could still technically pick it up. Anyway, so that was the start of Coca-Cola, their little controversial start that I guess is only controversial now. It wasn't controversial back then. But now we're like, oh, they had cocaine in there. But they really didn't. I mean, they did, but they didn't. It's kind of confusing. But yeah, so that was the start. So I want to look about over Coca-Cola, about their accomplishments over the years, because they've had some many great accomplishments. And this is kind of more diving into the impact they've had into the world. Not only as a company, because it's pretty straightforward with how their companies worked. I don't want to go through all of the boring stuff like, oh, this man owned Coca-Cola here and this one owned here. Not that that's not important. I would love to. I love doing that with other things, but for this one, I think it's way more important to focus on kind of what Coca-Cola has done for the world, and kind of, I guess this kind of ties into their own history as well. So, 1917, Coca-Cola begins their partnership with the Red Cross, and this partnership is going strong all the way until today. So they are still partnered with the Red Cross 100 years later. They are still helping fund with their partnership with Red Cross to help disaster relief throughout the world. And throughout the years, they've been partnered with Red Cross to help with many different things, especially in the 20s or 10s. With World War I and stuff like that, they were helping with relief on that as well. And then 1935, Letite Pat I can't even say the name. Pat Evans. Oh my gosh, Letite Pat Evans joins the board of directors as the first woman to serve on the board of a major company. So 1935. That's pretty crazy to have. Especially during this time. I don't even think, I don't know. But that's pretty crazy. In 1935, they could have a woman on their board, because that was probably pretty controversial back then. I don't know if it was controversial, but it was just unheard of. Yeah. So 1963, so we're jumping about 30 years here, Coca-Cola released their first diet drink called Tab, which had I cannot talk today. Many women chemists that were critical in the development of Tab. Very cool. And then 1966, Coca-Cola launches the Nutrition Project in hopes of helping more impoverished countries. I just cannot talk today. In figuring out how to include more of a healthy diet, which resulted in 3 Latin drink companies starting that used local soybeans to create their high protein drinks, which is really, really, really cool, because in other countries, they just don't have the same nutrition that we have in America at hand. So a lot of kids end up dying pretty early on, because they're not getting like the protein and the nutrition that they need. So this is really cool that could have happened in the Latin communities. I'm not sure where it was, but it was just really cool that Coca-Cola could do that. 1984, Coca-Cola starts the Coca Cola Foundation, which involves 1% of their previous year earnings going to this foundation and focusing on helping women, water, and well-being. You'll see a trend through Coca-Cola's history on, I guess, being really involved in helping women and also the world. But it's really cool to see Coca-Cola be involved in that, especially during this time when there was a serious problem with helping out women. I mean, yes, not necessarily in the 80s, but early on as well. I mean, in the 80s as well. I'm not saying I'm not going to... Yeah. So yeah, 1884, they start the Coca Cola Foundation, which helps out women, water, and well-being. 2001, Coca-Cola established the Coca-Cola African Foundation, which helps combat HIV and AIDS. So that's really cool to see them. Like I said, you'll see a trend, and you've seen a trend through what I've been talking about, them helping out both of the poorer communities as well as empowering women as well. 2007, Coca-Cola partners with the Worldwide Fund for Nature, which focuses on using local resources to keep water clean in communities that struggle with contaminated water sources. Once again, this is really cool because there's a lot of communities across the world and places in the world that have very nasty, not good water, and Coca-Cola is really, really cool that they're helping out with that. 2010, Coca-Cola launches their 5x20 initiative, which focuses on training and empowering women by 2020. They would provide classes and and business courses for young entrepreneur women. Once again, this is a great start for, I guess, the empowerment of women. And yes, 1 second. I'm sorry, hang on. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had something right when I was looking it up. And then in 2013, this is the last one here, I guess the most recent one. The first Eco Center, with a K, so EKO Center, is established. Eco Center is a modular community market that is run by local women entrepreneurs and provides safe drinking water, wireless communication, electricity, and other functionality to jumpstart entrepreneurship opportunities and community development. The 100th Eco Center was opened in 2016, and projects continue to grow across the globe. This project also complements the 5x20 initiative that was launched in 2010, which is really cool because if you see 2010, they launched this 5x20 initiative to help empower women and providing classes for business and young entrepreneur women. And then you see 2013, this is taking off because then there's women actually starting this stuff. 3 years later, and then 3 years later from then, there's 100 of these centers, which is nuts. That's crazy. That's a ridiculous amount of growth. So yeah, that's kind of the, I guess, major accomplishments on how Coca-Cola has helped with community. 1 second, I need to drink water. Because I am very parched right now. I don't know why. I'm good now, though. So anyway, Coca-Cola has been, throughout the years, have some many great accomplishments within their company. It's really cool to see how much they've grown. And by the way, when I was looking this up, I wanted to make sure I got it right. Coca-Cola is in 200 countries. They're literally, it's nuts how many countries they're in. And when I don't know if I've actually talked about this on the podcast, but recently in the past, in January, which was 6 months ago now, holy cow. From January until early March, I was in Asia on a intercultural trip to learn more about different cultures that were over there, and also work with some local churches as well, because that is one of my majors. My other major is radio and recording arts, which is what this is. And and yeah, so when I was over there, it was interesting because they have, I mean, I guess I wasn't really surprised by this, but they have Coke in I was in Cambodia, Thailand, the Philippines, and I guess Japan wasn't that much of a surprise. But they had Coke in every single country, and it's crazy how much Coke has impacted the drink, like the fountain drink market, because you can literally get Coke anywhere. Interesting enough, though, in America, we use high fructose corn syrup for our Coke, whereas in all the other countries we were in, they used sugar cane for the substitute for that, which is actually way healthier, and I wish we did that in America, but it's less cheap over here, sadly. But yes, so that is kind of a little history of Coca-Cola and some of their accomplishments as well. As always, I have a random history fact of the day at the end of my episodes, and today, here's a big one. Like I said, Coca-Cola is everywhere across the world, right? So this shouldn't be that much of a surprise, but it's crazy. More than 10,000 Coca-Cola soft drinks are consumed per second. This, of course, includes things like Fanta, Dr. Pepper, Sprite, and all variations of Coke. But still, 10,000 per second? That's... I don't actually know how they measure that, but still, that's an insane amount of Coke. I guess Coca-Cola I can't even say the word. Coca-Cola products. There's the word. Or just fountain drinks in general. That's insane. That's crazy. But as always, make sure to go check me out at the Framework of Tomorrow on Instagram. Give me a follow. And I released this on Instagram. I haven't talked about it on the podcast, I don't think. But once I reach 500 downloads, I'm going to be doing a little giveaway. So make sure you go and download or listen on every single device you own, and we can get there faster. And it would help me as well. Tell your friends about me as well, because that will help out. You can share my Instagram to them and have them follow me and check me out as well. Make sure to rate me 5 stars on iTunes, or rate me anything on iTunes. I actually, last episode, I was like, I've said this for 2 weeks and I haven't checked on it for a while. So this week I'll actually share some of the ratings, the 5-star ratings I've got. So a couple new ones that I haven't seen. Crashly C says, one of my favorite podcasts, simply the best, 5 stars. And another by Aaron Green. This is actually one of my relatives. He says, high quality show, 5 stars. Love listening to this. Always interesting topics, and love to hear Keegan's take. Thank you so much, Aaron, and thank you so much, Crashly C, which I'm pretty sure that's my sponsor, actually, Ashley Lewayne K. That's funny. Anyway, yes, thank you so much for listening to the Framework of Tomorrow. And I upload every Monday and Wednesday at 5 a.m. Make sure to tune in next Monday at 5 a.m. If you don't tune in at 5 a.m., you're missing out. I'm just kidding. You don't have to tune in at 5 a.m., but it releases at 5 a.m. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and make sure to tune in next Monday, for another fantastic episode of the Framework of Tomorrow.